And we're on. Hello, everybody. We are back on Tsorenity Now, and today we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to be, you'll see a new guest here today, and the reason being is that, we talked about leadership, but we're not talking about leadership just in an organization or business, but also leadership at home. So with me here, I have Ryan Molinaro and his daughter, Sophie.
Hi.
And I wanted to ask you, Ryan, and the other part that we want to talk about is not just leadership in the home, but connecting it with health, fitness, nutrition. And so we want to ask Ryan, how has he led at the home, specifically with his daughter, Sophie, and what activities or things that he's gotten her involved in at whatever age?
Yeah, well, it starts with acknowledging, understanding more is caught than taught.
More is caught than taught. We explain that a little bit for people.
Yeah, well, they're watching all the time. Everything you're doing, they're watching.
You're talking about children, right? Not the government or
the children.
Okay.
Good or bad, they're watching.
Right.
And it's flattering, and it's also a lot of responsibility.
Okay.
So, if you're doing things that you need to get better at, well, it's going to get recognized, and you'll see it. You'll see it in your kids. All the good and all the stuff you maybe don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking about also like being an example.
Yeah.
Leadership, even the good and the bad.
Yep.
They notice everything. They observe from a very young age everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
So you really can't even. A lot of people have a thing called fake it till you make it. They'll do it at work, be one sort of personality, but then at home be another. And you really it has to be this leadership, this idea of what we've been talking about. It really has to go at a deep core level of who you believe you are and what you believe in.
Yeah.
So, but tell me what you've done in terms of leadership for specifically Sophie, your children. What activities or why you decided to do what you're doing?
Well, a couple of things were real important. One is that they had a foundation. So I wanted them to have a foundation of movement. I started doing gymnastics movements, I think, when I was 30.
Okay.
I had many years of...
That's pretty late for the Olympics, 30 years old.
I know I was running a little late. I had hopes, but just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Took me a little while to get my first muscle up, and then, I'm far into my 30s. But I wanted that foundation to be good. I wanted them to have body awareness, movement. My wife was a dancer.
Okay.
She explained to me, she's like, listen, in dance, you learn how to observe and replicate.
Okay.
And do that in your body. So you watch and then you connect it. And you create this really strong body awareness, mind-body connection. And the other area that I wanted was gymnastics.
Okay.
Right? You and I had talked about this, what gymnastics did for you. And I said, well, I want to get my children started at an early age for that awareness. Doesn't have to do it their whole life, right? But getting creating that foundation so that they know, how their body works. They learn how to fall. They learn how to catch themselves. They learn how to be upside down, right? And then you start creating all these neural pathways where when you're upside down, you know where your feet are.
Okay.
Right? You know how to move your hands in a handstand walk, right? And then on top of that, then there's the strength component that you start strengthening your body and moving your body more efficiently, right? So, from body awareness to strength to mind-body awareness.
Yeah. No, thank you. So maybe we ask Sophie. Sophie, maybe you could tell us in the audience, what kind of activities do you do? What are some of the things that you're doing? And, what sports perhaps, or what are things that your parents have enrolled you in?
I do dance and gymnastics. And in gymnastics, we work on bars, floor, vault, beam, trampoline, pitch, rope, and lots of other stuff.
And this is all just gymnastics?
Yeah.
Okay, and the dance?
I work on acro. jazz, tap, and some other skills.
Great. And maybe first also tell the audience, how old are you?
I'm 8, almost 9.
8, almost 9. And what age did you begin gymnastics and dance?
I began gymnastics at 18 months.
18 months? 18 months. I can't even say a year old. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, she was, not 2. 18
okay.
months. Yeah.
Wow. What? No, you can continue, and I have other questions for you. And then dance?
Well, I started dance, I think, at around 2 years old.
2 years old. Okay. Do you remember your first day at gymnastics or dance?
No, I don't remember my first day, but I remember some things I
Yeah.
did.
What was your earliest memories of gymnastics and what you did?
My earliest memory of gymnastics was when I was super young, and then they said I'm going to do a makeup class because I missed a class, and I thought it was actually I was putting on makeup.
That's good. I didn't know that story.
Okay.
That's fun, Sophie.
And then my earliest memory of dance was a class where one of my friends gave me a jewelry box, and I was working with ribbons across the room and chasses and stuff.
Wow. Do you remember what age you were? You said really early, but do you know what?
I think I was like 1 year old. I mean, like 2 or 3 for gymnastics, and like 3 or 4 for maybe dance.
Okay. And, and you've been doing gymnastics until how long? You been until continuously till now, or did you?
I stopped at 6, took a break,
Okay.
and then got back when I was about 7.5.
Okay, 7.5, and you're 8 going on 9. And then dance?
I think I stopped like same age, and then didn't get back till I was 8.
Okay. And what would you tell everybody some of the benefits of gymnastics? Like, how has it helped you?
Well, like I know how to be upside down, and I know how to fall,
Okay.
and like it's really helpful because I always it's easier when I am falling. I know what to do, and maybe sometimes if I get upside down, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not just letting myself fall.
What was one of the first tricks you learned in gymnastics?
Well, the very first thing I did was walking on a really low beam. It was literally just on the floor holding my parents' hand.
Wow.
You remember that?
Yeah.
How old were you though?
I was 18 months.
18 months.
Because that was my first thing I learned.
Okay.
Whoa.
Wow.
Who were you with?
Daddy and Mommy.
Daddy and Mommy, do you remember that time helping her on the
Oh, I do for sure.
what were your thoughts going through? Because, what some people might say 18 months. Wow, that's really young to start gymnastics. Was there any, what was the consideration of starting her at that age, but also some of the things that you were worried about, or, some of the factors that you were thinking?
They have such a beautiful program for young kids. I mean, boys and girls, and it's parent and me class, parent and child. So
Okay, so the class is both parents and children.
yeah, at that age.
themselves.
So you're holding hands as you walk across a beam. And then it just starts creating these little neural pathways where she starts learning how to walk in balance. And so she started really improving in all of her motor function, from that on, and little things, from holding a pencil, and then, her sight, so having to focus.
So you're saying just walking on a little piece of beam has helped translate to other areas, coordination with her hands and eyes as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, Sophie, how old were you? How long did it take you to walk on the beam by yourself without holding Mommy and Daddy's hand?
Well, it depends on what size. Because, as soon as I stopped holding their hands, I think I was about, 2 years old. But it was, a beam, not even really high from the ground.
Okay.
So it really depends on what height. But I didn't start walking on a beam this high until I was, I'd say 5, I think.
So about 5 years old, you raised the beam up to waist high?
Yeah, and
Okay.
then, and so now I can really walk onto a beam like this high.
All the
but
way to chest high? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. And then what do you feel like is the most difficult trick that you've learned in gymnastics?
Well, the one that took me, Rain, the one out of what I've learned or what I'm still working on.
What you've learned and then what you're still working on.
For what I've learned, I'd say the back hip circle.
The back hip circle. Can you explain what that is?
So you're on the bar like this.
Mm-hmm.
You do 3 casts backwards.
So you're bouncing off the bar?
Yeah, but with your hands still on.
Okay.
You do 3, then after the third one, you kind of flip your feet up over the bar and then back right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say
was the hardest
one I learned.
And how old were you when you learned this one?
I was 8.
8 years old. Okay. And how long did it take you to learn it when you started? And
it took me about 3 or 4 months to learn that.
okay, well, that's pretty quick. And then what is the trick that you're learning now?
Well, there's really 2. I'm learning cartwheels, handstands, and that stuff on the beam.
Oh, on the beam.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really tricky. And then also my front handspring.
Okay, front handspring. What is a front handspring?
So kind of you're like this, and then you jump onto your hands, so then it's kind of like a handstand. Then you jump off back onto your feet.
Oh, wow. That sounds difficult. So basically you're standing and then you're jumping, you're running and you're jumping on your hands, but then you're bouncing off your hands back to your feet.
When you first learn it, you don't normally jump.
Okay.
So
you're lunging or something like that.
yeah, I'm just like this, and then I jump.
Okay. And then you're learning that now, or is that something?
I'm learning that right now.
Okay. And when did you start?
I actually started last Thursday.
Okay. So recently, we're talking not even a week, you're learning the handspring.
Yeah, and I think I've gotten pretty good because now I can land in kind of like
a squat?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're landing on your feet.
Squat, yeah.
Yeah. So you're landing on your feet. That's awesome. Amazing. That's really quick if you just learned last Thursday and you're already landing on your feet.
No, that's great. Good job, honey.
Yeah, but I'm not able to land how I'm supposed to land, just coming out and landing like that.
So you're working on your landing?
Yeah.
Amazing. And then you're also working on, you said your handstands?
Yeah, hands.
On the beam.
And walking on my hands on the floor.
Oh, okay. And when did you start this?
I started this a couple months ago.
Okay.
Wow.
And you also said you're doing the cartwheel on the beam?
Yeah.
And you've learned that, or you're learning that?
I'm still learning that. Same with the handstand on the beam, because I've fallen off a lot.
And how often do you go to gymnastics every week?
I go once a week.
Once a week, and you're going that continuously, almost continuous for that short break since you were 18 months. You're 18 months. And then for dance, what are you learning in dance, or what have you learned?
It depends on what type of dance, because there's lots of different categories that I've been doing, so really depends on what category.
Okay. Which, give me one of the categories. You said jazz, you said...
I'll just do jazz. I learned the grapevine, which is kind of like this. You're like this, and you go backwards, open, backwards, clap, like this.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So I've learned that.
And what do you think have been the benefits of learning dance for you that you've seen, or for people?
Well, it really helps with movement, because when you do dance, you're able to be very sharp in your movement, because you have to you're moving a lot, and there's lots of turns, and you're doing a lot of movement, and it can be really fast or really slow. So it really helps you learn how to get sharp turns and lots of stuff like that.
How would you describe your coaches?
Well, I'd describe my coaches very encouraging. When I don't get a move at first, they're not disappointed. They just help me work on it.
Okay. So they have expectations, but when you don't get it right, they encourage you and help you to do it right, to do it better. So you're constantly working on those moves.
Yeah.
Do they put any pressure on you to get those moves, or they?
No, not really.
Okay, great. And then, so if somebody was, starting out, what would you suggest somebody to start out for gymnastics?
Well, I would I would not go straight to team
Team, okay.
because, like, and anyway, you also need to try out. And so, like, for a beginner, I would say apply to an easy one. Don't, like, start in an easy group. Like, really, sometimes I would also work on the moves you need to work on it in the beginning and through all. Because I'm saying, like, in the beginning, you're new, so if you don't know a cartwheel, then I'd keep working on a cartwheel at first and get the beginner moves down before you can move on to handsprings and walking on your hands. And before you move on to that stuff, I'd try to nail the basics.
The basics. Now, is this something that people can learn at home by themselves, or do you think that they have to take a class? Do they take a private tutor or?
It depends.
Okay.
For the private tutor or class, that's really up to you because they're both teaching you the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it really depends on which move, if you're going to be learning it from someone else or if you can work on it at home. Like a front handspring, I'd definitely try learning that in a class or with a private tutor because that you need special mats at first. Because when I first attempted a front handspring, I was lucky I had a mat because I literally rolled over.
Okay.
I was not able to land
so you didn't, okay.
So if I tried that at home, I would have hit my head really hard. So depends on what move. But if I was doing a cartwheel or a donkey kick, then sure, learn that at home.
Okay.
Or walking on a beam, but just not a high beam. If you were learning to walk on a little beam, then sure, do that at home. Just it depends on what move. If they are a super hard move that you need special mats at first to learn, go to a class. But if they're a little move like a donkey kick where there's literally no way you could get a serious injury, then I'd learn it at home.
Now, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to mention here, James, is do you notice there's this balance of support and demanding, right? So supportive environment, but still there's a demand.
There's an expectation,
right? There's an expectation, but it's a dichotomy, right? It's finding that balance in between, and if you've noticed, Sophie, she doesn't go every day, right? Like you can get into gymnastics, and if that becomes a thing, you can go 4 to 6 hours, 3-4 days a week, even at this age. Yeah. But I think what I want to call out is how you don't have to do that. Right. There's a fun component, or there's a piece where you go for a little bit, and then you go for as long as it is. And if someone loves it, then they can go into it more. But I'm tying into. I'm a really big fan of Angela Duckworth and her work on grit. Yep. And it's a great book, and all of her other work is really good. She talks about this a lot. Okay. And I felt like her work has helped me in parenting and how I, walk them through some of their sporting and different types of. So
Angela Duckworth's book named Grit.
Yeah.
In what ways has it helped you in terms of how you parent your children? Like, what is grit and why the children, what are they going through in terms of grit?
Well, she really unpacks this idea of talent versus effort. Okay. Which is it's openly debated on many different platforms for many years, and there's different research on it. So she really dives deeper into that. But I think that's what I've found in her research and in her material that is incredibly helpful for parenting, because you really want to help foster effort. Yeah. Okay. That is what I would say was the most impactful for her work for me, was fostering effort within my own home. Yeah. Right? Within myself. Yeah. I happen to score very, very high on her grit scale. Okay. That didn't surprise me, but it still was good to understand that about myself. But then I sat there and I said, well, I also want my children to see how to persevere, how to put forth effort, and what is it? And she breaks it down pretty simply, and one of them is, she says, hey, ballet, dance,
She uses these examples
Yeah,
as
and
well?
she has daughters, but, and yeah, she uses those examples, but there's other things, for boys. And gymnastics is another one, especially, when children are younger. But any sport that's adult guided, right, that has this balance of supporting and demanding.
Yeah, and I think leadership is like that. You find there's a tension that you mentioned. You can be any principle of two extremes. Either give them hard demands, or just let them be free. And you can do one or the other, but I think to find the balance of still having expectations, but not punishing them for not achieving that.
Yeah, well, the one thing I don't do is coach her on the car ride home.
Okay.
And I'd say that to everyone. You want to be careful of yourself coaching.
So explain that. So if we're coaching on the ride home, what does this mean?
So we've all seen the movie, we've heard the stories, we've done it maybe ourselves, and it's hard. You want your child to perform well, you want them to do really well, and you want them to feel success.
Yeah.
And maybe something wasn't put enough effort in some way. So then you start saying you should have passed earlier when you were over there, and you start going through.
Like you're doing like a review, and then kind of
you're reviewing. But then what ends up happening is the child is just hearing you just
criticize,
criticize.
Yeah.
And then at some point you're going to be an adult, and then what are you going to remember?
Remember beyond the criticism and trying to please the parents and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So what do you do in the car ride home then on your thought process when you take them back?
Just ask questions.
Ask questions.
How
ask
was
the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Encouraging.
Yeah.
Happy to see you out there. Love your effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's obvious too. I mean, Sophie's articulate right here at 8 years old. I don't think I could complete a sentence and also explain why the cartwheel is important or why
she's a great
gymnastics.
mom.
So
she is a great mom. Wouldn't you say, Soph?
Yeah.
Yeah. How has your parents encouraged you in your sports or encouraged you in your interests, Sophie?
Well, like if I didn't pass a level one time, they would help encourage me to keep going and help me work on my skills. Like when I don't pass, they'll help me work on the skills that I didn't pass that I need to work on, and they're just really encouraging.
Yeah, it's great. That's what you remember about your parents is encouraging you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a question though, is that how do you know when it's time to, for both of you, when is to, push through challenging things in the sport or when it's time to quit? Maybe not to continue on. I mean, you hear that, like maybe I'm tired, not passionate about it. Do I decide, do I want to quit or I want to persevere and keep pushing through? How do you find that balance?
Well, really depends. Do you really love the sport? If you don't really love it, then why keep doing it? But if you love it and it's just challenging, then just keep going.
There you go.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you love it, but it's literally impossible and like no one's helping you, no one's encouraging you, and you're just on your own, then maybe I'd stop and just do it at home.
Yeah, great answer.
Soccer. Do you want to talk about soccer? Because she did soccer a few years. We tried it. We want to just touch on a broad range of things. I don't believe in early specialization.
Yeah, how old was she when you guys put her in soccer?
I think first you were 5.
5 years old.
Yeah.
You had fun then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it gets a little more competitive, a little more intense this last year.
So how long were you guys doing soccer then?
We did a season.
Okay.
And Soph, what would you say?
I didn't really like it anymore,
Yeah.
and so I just had to keep going for the rest of the season. Then I stopped, and I haven't done soccer since last season.
What was it about soccer that you didn't like?
Really, it was really mostly everything. I didn't, except the snacks.
Except for the snacks, yeah. Okay.
I like the oranges.
Yeah, you can get snacks anywhere, so I guess soccer. So I think, but you finished the season. Why did you wait until the end of the season to stop?
Because my parents said I had to keep going for the rest of the season.
Okay. And Ryan, what was your thought process behind that?
Well, we're going to finish what we started.
Right. You're encouraging, like, wait, if you make a commitment to something,
Yeah.
you're going to finish it until it's done, and then find the right appropriate time to quit.
Yeah.
So I'm sure too, like
It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. So,
about
I mean,
that.
it wasn't easy, and I think there were some games where it was challenging, right? There was some discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was the coach.
Oh, you were the coach.
I
as
was the
well.
coach,
Oh,
so-
wow! So your own daughter didn't want to play soccer.
So think about that challenge where you
Interesting.
might start placing real expectations. And I had played soccer growing up.
Oh,
and,
okay. So
know,
you had
and
experience
that
with
helped
soccer.
me propel into football and
Yeah.
things like that. And,
Yeah.
But I was given an opportunity of, well, how am I going to handle that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I going to let that take me out to where I'm going to just, throw frustration on top of her and put pressure and, it's a
It's a fine line.
well, it's a fine line and diving into shame,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Shame and pressure. And so it was an opportunity for me to choose how I was going to behave.
Mm. Yeah. How did it feel when Zoe said she wasn't interested in soccer anymore? First time, and how did you know?
I think initially I was careful in not placing my own expectations on top of her.
A lot of parents do that.
So I just really listened.
yeah. So you just listened.
I just listened.
Okay. And Sophie, how was it having your dad as a coach and then a dad at home? How does it?
I think it was great. If I had to do soccer, I wouldn't want any other coach.
Oh.
Oh.
What was so great about your dad as a coach?
Well, he was just like really understanding, and he always knew what I was like thinking, and
Make me cry, Soph.
Oh. And then when you said you didn't want to do soccer anymore, how did you approach your dad about it? Did you wait, or did you immediately tell him, hey, I don't like this sport? What was your thought process?
well, I didn't really. Well, I told him after really our second game.
Okay. That's pretty early in the season. Yeah. Right after you just knew, right, during the second game that you didn't like it, or did you already not like it before? But
I didn't. I kind of liked it in the first game because I was out most of the time. So
okay.
I, so I couldn't really tell that I didn't like it yet until the second game.
Second game. In the second game, what made it the second game you knew you didn't like it?
Well, really, I just didn't. It's kind of hard to explain. It just wasn't really fun for me
Okay.
when I was kicking the ball around and just in the sun. It just wasn't my favorite thing.
Yeah.
to do.
How many games are there in a season?
I really didn't know. I wasn't.
It was
keeping
12.
track.
12. Wow. So the second game, she said I wasn't interested anymore. What
A
was
long season.
So then what did you do for the other, 8 games in practice, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's not just the game. You're also,
We just worked on skills
Okay.
in practice. And
Okay.
then in the games, it was, you're not going to be in all game, but I'd like you to get in for a bit of each game.
okay. And then Sophie, you decided to quit soccer, but you continue with gymnastics and dance. What is it about gymnastics and dance that keeps your interest?
It's just hard to explain. It's just really fun, and it's just because I'm always moving, and it's just really fun. It's just something I'm really interested in.
Interesting. That's great.
Cool.
Yeah. And how long do you plan on staying with gymnastics and dance?
I don't know. I honestly never thought about it. I've only been thinking about what I'm doing right now.
That's good. That's a
Yeah.
good philosophy in life.
All right. You don't have to go too far. Think about today.
Is there any other sports that interest you? Any other interests or hobbies?
Yeah, I love horseback riding.
Horseback riding. Okay, what about horseback riding and how did you get interested in this?
Horses are my favorite animal.
Okay, all right. And then you want to ride them.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sure you've told daddy and mommy.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
You
so,
know, that's going to be our next date, right?
next date. Are you going to, if you do horseback riding, are you going to continue gymnastics and dance too? 3 sports?
Well, I haven't really planned yet on actually doing a lesson for a while. I just every now and then will just go horseback riding.
Yeah, no, that's great. And just even taking it back to myself, I started sports at a very early age as well, gymnastics.
Yeah, James, I wanted you to kind of just share how gymnastics has been helpful for you.
Yeah, I started a little bit earlier than you, Ryan. I started in junior high, so and then I did.
Better than 30.
Yeah, so and I did
I'm
gymnastics
smart.
in high school.
That's why you always beat me.
Well, so what it's done for me is made a lot of body awareness, and so a lot of the like the calisthenics for like doing pull-ups, push-ups, burpees, even in CrossFit muscle-ups.
Yeah.
Helped a lot. In the fall, Sophie's absolutely right. Whenever we fell down, I would somehow know to not just land on my feet, but it could roll out of it.
Yeah.
So that absolutely helped. And also just, it helped build muscle and strength.
Yeah.
You know, as a freshman in high school, one of the things that you could do to earn points was called a ring, the iron cross, which is basically you're on top of these rings and then you lower yourself by your sides. And you're holding yourself only by your arms all the way stretched out like a cross and holding yourself up.
That's
there.
easy.
Oh yeah. That's easy. Yeah. No, but I mean, for even those, the funny thing I heard is that it's totally true. It's like in CrossFit, learning a muscle up on rings is like one of the hardest skills to learn. So it's difficult. It's not
Very
the first
difficult.
day thing,
Took
right?
me a couple years.
Couple years, yeah. But you know, in gymnastics, they don't even call it a skill. It's just a way to get on the rings. It's not like freshmen in high school.
Jump up and get on the rings.
It's the first thing you learn. And so it's not even considered a skill. It's just like, okay, this is a way to get you on top of the rings and muscle up. So, so it's just, that's the strength that you learn. There's a lot of different like hollow body positions that you learn that they're way harder than maybe a general fitness program can get you in. So if you have children that are interested in a sport, or if they don't know what they want to do yet, gymnastics is a great way to just give you a foundation for any other sport, honestly. You know, I know also like we Brian and I do CrossFit, and you know the founder of CrossFit was a gymnastics coach and studied under gymnastics. So the beginning stuff of CrossFit has a lot of gymnastic components as well. Yeah. So, yeah.
And I also feel like you're able to do things extremely efficiently when you move your body. Like I think you're 2 to 1 for my burpees. Two of your burpees to 1 of mine.
Yeah, it's what also could be is I'm shorter than you too, so I don't have to jump as
a lot
hard.
Shorter.
Yeah, way less shorter. A lot of gymnasts are short for some reason, and maybe it's because of all that muscle they built. Their bones just can't expand. I'm kidding.
The other thing I was going to bring attention to was, you know, you then went to West Point and you were in the Army. Yeah. So how do you think that helped you there?
There is that component of perseverance, right? To continue on, not quit. I would say in gymnastics, though, it was like short sprints and like push-ups and sit-ups, I did extremely well. Aerobically, I probably wasn't the best runner. Gymnastics, you don't run more than maybe 100 feet. Yeah. So, and your routines are maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes long. Yeah. So that where there's a weakness, you can supplement that with other cardio or aerobic fitness as well, but still continue.
That's where I can get you.
You got me in the strength and everything else. So, yeah. So, but, like you said, this is what we want to focus on in Tsorenity is not just, leadership principles, but how do we lead at home and not just tell you this is what you should do, but actually live it and give an example. And honestly, we weren't even going to talk about what Sophie was doing, but she wanted to be on the podcast. She wanted to tell people about what she was doing, what she was learning. And she basically forced her dad to put her on the podcast. And because you tell, we just put at the last minute, we decided to put her on her, and there was no rehearsal really. There was nothing. This all Sophie. Organic responses and excellent speaker, very articulate already at that age. And she already could describe, some of the things that are difficult and easy and why she likes these things and has a real good understanding at her age for, the sport and why she's doing it.
Good job, Sophie.
Sophie, is there anything else you want to tell everybody?
In gymnastics, you can learn like a lot of movement, like on the bar when you're like sometimes we'll make the bar pretty low and we'll hop on the bar and jump off, so it can help you with like your jumps, and it can really help you with a lot of stuff.
So not just gymnastics, but other things like jumping on top of a bar, not necessarily in a gymnastic sense, but if you need to run away from the police or something.
I don't think anyone would really want to be running away from the police.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. And see, she also has morals. So excellent advice, Sophie. Don't run away from the police if you have that opportunity. All right. Is there anything else? Sophie, Ryan, did you want to say anything else, closing, or some principles you learned?
I'm just proud of you, Sophie. Yeah. Sitting here next to you and hearing you speak at 8, almost 9 years old, it just makes my heart leap. Yeah. I love you so much. Yeah.
And also at some places in gymnastics, there are camps.
Oh, yeah. Gymnastics camps can also help as well.
You doing that right now?
Yeah, I was actually at a gymnastics camp this morning.
Oh, wow.
And in dance, there are also gymnastics camps for teams. I'm not on a gymnastics team, but I'm on a dance team, so I'm doing a dance team camp.
Nice. How many people are at these camps?
I'd say a lot.
Okay.
Enough to do like the whole rainbow of groups plus one color.
Oh, cool.
At our camp we did red, orange, yellow, green, blue, light blue, purple, and pink. That's how many groups there were.
Wow.
Awesome.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, it sounds like, there are obviously a lot more questions we can ask in terms of what else, skills specifically, how it's helped in other areas of life. But, I think what we could do is that if there's another opportunity that we could ask Sophie back on, if she's learned a new sport maybe, or she's decided to move in a different direction in life, that she can give us an update of what's going on. Just basically tell everybody like, hey, this is what I've learned. This is what I'm doing. This is my interest, and obviously the relationship between father and daughter is just immeasurable. It's simply precious. And I think there's nothing to take away being a father, I'm sure. So
You'll come on some other time, Soph?
will you have another time?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, honey.
All right. Until next time then. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
James.
Thank you.